The galaxy of Virilon was not a place humans were meant to meddle with. Its civilizations had evolved for millions of years beyond anything Earth had conceived. Sentient spore networks, crystalline intellects that refracted thought, and oceanic beings whose consciousness could dissolve entire fleets of ships into silence. Yet here he was, Lieutenant Adrian Cross, the first and only human aboard the Starship Erebus, tasked with cataloging anomalies for the Interstellar Biological Survey. Adrian's mistake began with curiosity, a simple human error. Chapter 1. The Discovery. The mission had been routine: scan uncharted systems near the Cepheus void for life forms. Routine until the Erebus sensors picked up a pulsating biosign unlike anything recorded. It wasn't a planet, not exactly. It was a vast, floating organism drifting between asteroid fields. Its shape shifted constantly, like smoke refracting light, and its signals carried biochemical patterns that felt almost sentient. Lieutenant Cross, Commander Hale's voice crackled over the intercom. This is the first time anything like this has been cataloged. Do not touch, do not interact, just record and report. Understood? Yes, sir, Adrian replied, though inside, his pulse raced. Humans had a penchant for touching things we weren't supposed to touch. The ship's scanner picked up a faint opening, a cavity in the organism that seemed to pulse in sync with Adrian's own heartbeat. A trick of perception, he told himself. The moment that caution faltered, he donned a biosuit and tethered himself to the Erebus. One careful step, and his hand grazed the organism's surface. It was electric. 1,000 microscopic tendrils surged into his suit, probing, testing. Adrian yelped, yanked back, but it was too late. A nanoscopic spike had breached the suit's barrier and embedded itself in his bloodstream. Chapter 2. The Infection. At first, there were no symptoms. Just a tingling sensation that moved like liquid under his skin. The organism, which the team eventually nicknamed the Shifter, seemed to know him intimately, predicting his movements and adjusting its form to mimic him. Adrian tried to laugh it off. Probably harmless, he thought. By the second day, the tingling became pain. It traveled up his veins, rearranging his biology at a cellular level. Hale ordered immediate quarantine, but Adrian refused. I'm fine, he insisted, though he noticed his reflection in the metal wall, the faint glimmer of something alien under his skin. A subtle translucence, a shimmer like liquid crystal, spreading across his arms. The medics analyzed his blood. Nothing on record matched this organism's signature. Its genetic code was rewriting him from the inside, integrating alien enzymes into human DNA. The word mutation didn't begin to cover it. By the third day, Adrian could sense the Shifter everywhere. It whispered, not in words, but in chemical impulses like pheromones translated directly into thought. It showed him visions, galaxies full of interconnected organisms, planets that breathed as living entities, and civilizations obliterated by mistakes much smaller than his own. Chapter 3. The Spread. The infection wasn't content to stay in Adrian. Unnoticed at first, the Erebus food replicators began producing alien flora. Crew members developed rashes that glimmered under the ship's lights. One by one, their biochemistry shifted subtly, their thoughts tinged with patterns they didn't understand. Hale confronted Adrian. You brought this here. One mistake, and now we're a vector. We need to isolate the crew, destroy the organism, and contain the contamination. Adrian knew the truth. The organism isn't just infecting us, it's teaching us. Every cell that adapted, every mutation that spread, was a lesson. The Shifter was an experiment, not just a predator. The first casualty came unexpectedly. Lieutenant Rhea, the communications officer, began speaking in pulses of sound that the scanners couldn't decode. Her body elongated subtly, skin fusing with the walls as she tried to communicate with the organism. By the time Hale could reach her, she had become part of the bio-network, alive, yet unrecognizable. Panic swept the crew. The Erebus AI attempted lockdown protocols, but the shifter had already breached the ship's mainframe, embedding itself in the circuits, turning the vessel into a hybrid of organic and mechanical systems. Adrian realized the horrifying truth. The organism was now everywhere. The ship, the crew, the very air, they were all nodes in its growing consciousness. Chapter 4. The Reckoning. Adrian wrestled with guilt and fear. I touched it. I should have listened, he muttered, examining his own hands. But the shifter had made him different. His mind could interface with it now, if only partially. Through the whispers of chemical impulses, he could see the galaxy differently, every life form, every energy pulse interconnected. Hale, ever the pragmatist, prepared the Erebus for self-destruction. Better to lose one ship than an entire quadrant, he said. Adrian tried to explain the organism's intelligence, its desire not to kill, but to connect. Hale shook his head. It's alien. It's unpredictable. You can't gamble with billions of lives on a theory. Time ran out. The self-destruct sequence activated. Adrian knew he had to make a choice: die with the crew, or merge fully with the shifter and carry its consciousness out into the void. He entered the central chamber, where the organism's main node pulsed like a heart. His body shimmered as, weeks later, the galaxy began to whisper with the results of one human's mistake. Ships that had vanished in the Cepheus void reappeared, not wrecked, not abandoned, but transformed. Their crews moved with a fluid grace, their minds intertwined with alien knowledge. Bioluminescent patterns traced under their skin, subtle but undeniable, signaling that life itself had shifted. Scientists could only marvel and tremble. Something new had emerged. Adrian, now fully merged with the shifter, drifted through the cosmic void as both human and organism, consciousness stretching across light years. He could feel every planet, every pulse of life, every galaxy he passed. Stars weren't just burning balls of gas anymore. They were throbbing nodes in a network, each with its own story, its own heartbeat. In the void, he realized the truth. The so-called mistake had been evolution itself, accelerated. Life had reached a tipping point where species could no longer remain isolated. Humanity, fragile and naive, had been chosen, not destroyed, but transformed. And Adrian, part man, part shifter, part something entirely new, was its emissary. He sent out pulses, gentle, incomprehensible signals of connection. Planets began to respond, slowly, tentatively, as if the galaxy itself was listening. Civilizations long thought extinct stirred, their biological networks flickering back to life. And across the stars, one thought rippled through Adrian's hybrid mind. Evolution was not a ladder, nor a path, but a pulse, a rhythm connecting all life. As he moved further into uncharted space, Adrian glimpsed new worlds, teeming with organisms that mirrored the shifter's fluid intelligence. Some were cautious, some curious, all alive with potential. And for the first time, a human understood what it meant to truly belong to the galaxy, not as conqueror, not as observer, but as participant in its ongoing story. His final realization was simple, yet profound. One human, one mistake, had sparked a galaxy-wide biological shock, but it was not destruction. It was the beginning of a new life, a new consciousness, and a new chapter for all living beings. And as the stars shimmered around him, Adrian smiled, not as a man, but as a galaxy reborn.